My name is Peyton. So when I was 17, I had a brain injury that changed my life. So this is it. Okay. So to give a better picture of how my life was doing during these past years, I thought I would use this whiteboard to show, well, first my age, to kind of track how everything was going over time, and also my QOL, or QOL, which is quality of life. So just kind of like how my well-being was through the years. So I'm going to draw the first part. So for the beginning, I just wanted to show ages 15 through 17, which is before the injury. I think the reason this is important is just to kind of show that basically growing up all of my life, I was a pretty happy kid. Kind of put it in between 10 and 8, so I put my quality of life around 9 just because there was nothing really major happening that was bad. I was happy. I had a loving family, 2 amazing parents, a really cool brother. So there was nothing really causing any distress, which I was very grateful for. Life was definitely very carefree, and I didn't really have anything meaningfully difficult. So I wanted to show the next part, which is I was a senior in high school when this happened. I believe it was just the first couple weeks of school too. And without getting into too much detail, basically I got into a little bit of an accident at the gym, and I hit my head pretty hard. And at the time I didn't really notice what happened because, again, nothing major really changed my life up to this point. So I kind of assumed everything would go away. I tried different therapies at the time, but the thing with brain injuries is that they're very specific and complex for each individual person, so it was hard to know what the actual issue was. Hi, this is Peyton from the future. I was editing the video and I realized I didn't really talk much about any of the symptoms that I had, so just to kind of give some description of kind of what life was like and why I felt the way I felt. It kind of just came down to everything feeling a lot heavier. So some of the things I had were fatigue. For example, cognitively, it became 2 to 3 times or more harder to do things. If, say, before the injury, I might have to read a sentence once or twice to understand it. After, I might have to read it 7, 8 times just to understand it 50% as much. My emotional tolerance was not as great, so I'd get irritated way more for something that did not need that level of irritation. And then a lot of my symptoms were actually kind of like visual too, or vestibular. So I had like light sensitivity. When I would be in crowds, I would get like overstimulated. The world visually looked distorted, so that was sort of like visually uncomfortable. And then things like anxiety and depression were a part of that. So I want to show the next segment, which is about when I'm 20 and I was entering my 3rd or 4th year in college when everything was in person, and Okay, so what I tried to show in the next part is that as I was around the age of 20 to maybe 21, things were slowly starting to get a little bit better just because I was finding ways to manage everything. But as you can see, there's another drop again. And the reason why this second dip happened is, well, I wasn't really eating as much. This also made it harder for me to sleep too, and I didn't really connect the two at the time. And those two things are kind of like fuel for your brain. So it led to a lot more problems, and it led to there being another dip in my life. And the thing about your 20s too is it's a time to figure things out, travel, date, make mistakes, whatever. And honestly, I felt like the theme during this time for me was really just trying to get through each day. So the good news is this is where things start to change, and it kind of all happened in the past year or so since I've been 22. So let's make that change. So at around 22 or so, I'd say things really changed a lot, which was actually only about a year and a half ago, if even that. And it really just started with trying again to see what I could do to help myself. And over the course of the year, I just kind of started implementing things as best as I could. The first big thing was eating more, which helped with sleep, and that just helped with energy and mood and life in general. And I began to start doing a lot more things again. And this was why I actually say senior year was my favorite year, is because it was, one, literally my healthiest year at the time, and two, because I was able to start doing things again and meeting people and playing things like volleyball, which became just like anchors for my life, really. And that was sort of the vibe of the year. I would say maybe around this midpoint, my school year felt maybe around 6 quality of life. I would say in the last 6 months, things really clicked because I was kind of curious and I decided to use ChatGPT and Gemini to just kind of see if there was anything else I could do to help myself out a little bit more. And even though I know that they are not medical professionals, I was able to get ideas and extra help in my life. And it ended up being very helpful at the time. And then it kind of got me more curious about things that I could try that weren't necessarily related to brain injury recovery. And this is where I'd say I noticed this last spike in the past 2 months, maybe 3 months. Things like sunlight in the morning, starting to meditate, staying off my phone before bed. I'm no medical professional, but it lowers stress, anxiety, just helps you function better. And they were very, very important for my last spike, or most recent spike, in terms of quality of life. I could honestly say right now, if before the injury, especially this 15 before was a 9-ish, 9.5, I think that 9 is just being able to live life carefree. I didn't really have to think about doing anything to be generally just happy and content. I would honestly say that in the past maybe month or so, I could say that maybe no day has been under an 8. It's sort of surreal, and to me it kind of feels like a second chance at life again. This is Peyton, part 2, coming from the future. It means a lot that you take the time to watch this video. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and yeah, have a good day and Happy New Year's. Bye bye.